Do you enjoy reading and learning from backgammon books? If so, keep watching because in this video, I'm discussing my book with Jason Lee, Backgammon Online Match, USBGF versus Litzenberger. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, what you'd like to see in future videos, and I'll work on it. If you love backgammon, you can become a member of this channel, giving you exclusive access to the most popular videos. My books are available. There are links in the description to where you can get them. And if you're interested in the lessons, please contact me via email. My email address is also in the description. Again, in this video, I'm discussing my book with Jason Lee, Backgammon Online Match, USBGF versus Litzenberger. And it's my great pleasure to welcome back my good friend, Jason Lee. Hello.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
Great. Looking forward to talking about this. This is a really cool project.
Yeah, likewise. I'm very excited. So we're going to be discussing this book that's now available through Amazon. It's also available through Roberto Litzenberger and Carol Joy Cole, called Backgammon Online Match. And this one is USBGF versus Litzenberger. So you were the one who started the online match many years ago. So tell us how you started that. How did that go?
Yeah, so that started back in 2012. I approached the U.S. Backgammon Federation about the idea of an online match. It was my idea that I presented to them. The concept was not really mine. There are ideas of online matches before in backgammon. Kit Woolsey ran one on his site for many years. And so I decided well, it's time to make one that would be available for the USBGF members. So I pitched it to the leadership at the time. It was very well received. And it didn't take us very long to get it started. They did a lot of work behind the scenes to get the website going that would help for the online match. They gave me a lot of technical support, a lot of advertising support, and then we were off and running.
So, how does the online match work for the viewers that are watching?
Well, you can sort of imagine that there is one player who we'll call the opponent, who is playing against the entire USBGF members. The whole group, anybody who is a USBGF member can participate and be on the team that's playing against the opponent. Now, in the early days, that opponent was Neil Kazaros, and he would be the opponent. And when he made his moves, it was all his decisions, what plays to make. And on the side of the team, the way it works is the plays get voted on. So if you have a couple of different candidate plays in a position, you could cast your vote for whatever play you thought was the best. And then the vote will typically stay open for a day. And then I'm the person that's behind the scenes that tabulates the votes. And I would see who won the vote and then post new positions the next day. And then so this would keep continuing like that.
That was going on. That's been going on for a very long time.
Yeah.
And approximately 2 years ago, towards the end of 2023, the USBGF president, John Perner, contacted our local club director, Patrick Gibson, to see if anyone was interested in being a commentator. So he approached me and asked me to do that. So tell us, what are the responsibilities of the commentator?
Right. So the way that we use the commentator is that after the vote has been tallied by the membership, then we'll post up the position together with a rollout, but we'll also post some written commentary from a person that we've described as the expert commentator. And so every day there will be some text that you can see. So after you've cast your vote, you come back the next day and you can see the results of the voting, but you can also see what the expert commentator has written about this position. And then maybe see, did your vote agree with what they said or not, and then what they felt about that position, just to give some flavor. Rather than just post the results, we also want to have somebody who's sort of talking about the play. Also, the opponent is also writing something to indicate how they're thinking about their play. So you can think about this as a match that's being played at the pace of a move per day, but it's also being commentated on. So it's a live commentary of a very slowly played match.
Yeah, and in this match, the expert opponent was another outstanding player, Roberto Litzenberger. So that was fantastic. This is actually a really great resource and educational opportunity for USBGF members. So it's one of the many reasons for people to join the USBGF. There's so many things you can get, and this is really a big one. There are other educational resources you can play in matches, online, on the ABT tour. You can get the Primetime magazine, so many things. And this is one of the great benefits. So, you are to be commended for doing all this for so many years. It's not necessarily a lot of work every day, but added together, it's a lot of work. So,
Right. So it's a little bit of time, but it's over a long period of time. And I do the rollouts on my computer. So over the years, I've expended many hours of computer time rolling out these positions, and we'll see some of that as we go along here today.
yeah, hopefully,
And you mentioned that Roberto is the opponent.
yeah.
And for many years, the designated opponent was Neil Kazaros, and recently he has passed that torch to Roberto Litzenberger. We tend to change up some of these people that are involved. For instance, at the moment, you are the expert commentator, but we've had some others in the past. When we first started, our expert commentator was Marty Storer, who is an outstanding backgammon writer. And so he would always write some beautiful prose to go along with these positions. We've had others such as Mary Hickey and Grant Hoffman, quite a few others that have been involved over the years. Sometimes a person will drop out and we'll pick somebody new to participate. But it's always been great. The people are very interested to see what the expert commentators have to say. And then, sometimes every once in a while, the expert commentator is unable to provide something, and I will get comments from people. Hey, what happened? Where's my expert commentator feedback? I really like to see that. So it's always very well received by the participants.
Yes, great. You were mentioning your rollouts. Hopefully, a lot of that was done overnight when you were sleeping or not
Oh
watching.
yeah.
That, that's great. So people ask me why I decided to write this book. So, in terms of background, the first book that I wrote about backgammon was actually technically not formally published. It was about the early game, but there have been a number of books that have been written about that, so it was kind of redundant, so I never actually published it because everything else pretty much has been written in other books. But I did decide to write my first formally published one, Backgammon Back Game Strategies. The reason I selected that topic was because there had never been a book written about that. And that took a lot of research. Like you mentioned, the rollouts that you did, I did probably thousands of rollouts, and these were four-ply huge rollouts that take.
So for back games, that's going to take a long time.
It did take a long time, and then there was like a lot of research about all the different chapters and things like that. So it was a lot of work. It took me about 3 months to write everything up, which is actually maybe not as long as some thought. But then it took like 6 months to proofread with things like that. But people asked me to write a book because they enjoyed, the comments that I make on social media forums and things like that. And
Yeah.
after that, it was a lot of work. So it was kind of exhausting. I didn't want to write another one actually for a while. However, since we've been doing this online match and I'd already written all the comments, I thought this would be a great idea to just put it together and make a book out of it. But so what I did was basically I took all the comments from the match, and I actually expanded upon it. So people that actually were playing in the match or following it can learn more. So I'll show some of that in a moment. Now, the book is available. It's going to be paperback. My first book Backgammon Strategies was hardcover, so the distribution is easier with a paperback. So that created some challenges. It's 244 pages, 8.5 by 11. And what that does is it allows for larger diagrams with smaller side-by-side ones, which I'll show. The thickness is less than 3/4 of an inch. It's 0.68 inches, 22.2 ounces in terms of shipping and delivery. And as I mentioned, it will be available through Roberto Litzenberger, Carol Joy Cole, and Amazon.
Size-wise, how does it compare with your Backgammon's book?
I think it's a little bit shorter, so
Uh-huh.
the thickness is slightly thinner. The paper size is the same,
Okay.
but that one's hardcover, so it's a
Right.
little bit bigger, and it weighs less because it's paperback.
Right.
Okay, so this is the cover image. So people ask me how I selected the cover image. What I wanted to do is make it feel like a party atmosphere like back in the 70s where people would go to a nightclub and play. So these are participants that are dressed up as a in a nightclub and they're playing backgammon. And Roberto Litzenberger is at the bottom and he's facing the opponents and he's dressed casually because it's an online match, so he's just doing it from his home office. And then the other people are at the nightclub, so you can see the disco ball, disco lights in the background. The gentleman in the center is the bouncer of the nightclub who's watching, but he's very angry. But the different people have different emotions like excitement, they're happy, they're enjoying themselves. So that's why I selected that. I thought it's a fun cover.
Yeah, that's fun. We've got this as my Zoom background now. I'm kind of covering up the big tough guy. That tough guy, he looks like me, right?
Yeah, that's funny. All right, so let's go through some of the excerpts here. So this is one of the pages. So what I've done is I've shown the position. For example, here, this is the position, and you can see it's a 6-2 to play. The USBGF members are the black at the bottom. Roberto Litzenberger is white at the top. And you can see the point numbers and everything. It says the play. And there are two options that I compare, and I put them in smaller diagrams side by side, so that's easy to visualize for the reader. And then there's an explanation here. And then in this case, on the subsequent page, there's an analysis. So every position is paired with a table that has an analysis. It shows all the moves along with their equity and your percentage of wins, gammons, and backgammons, and those for the opponent. And the top plays are shown. A lot of the times, I discuss a topic that's relevant to the position. So, for example, in this case, it was sixes from the bar. People always talk about don't give your opponent good sixes from the bar. So that's one of the topics.
Now I'll note that at the top of the page on the far left, both sides open with the 3-1, and then there's nothing to be discussed there. But if you were reading this book, you could follow along the match. Is that right? That you could see the progression of all the moves?
You can. So you see, it's shown what they were playing.
Yeah.
So it shows that for the moves that were skipped.
And then on the page on the right, the continuation of the match. So it shows that the play that was actually voted on was the 6-2, 24-18, 13-11. And then we have a few more rolls, also probably not really worth discussing. And then we get to another position that is worth talking about.
Right. A lot of the moves are straightforward, so there's not really much educational content to discuss that.
Right.
Those are straightforward, but I selected the interesting ones and educational ones.
And by the way, that's consistent also with how the match is actually run. We don't put up votes for plays that I consider to be obvious. Certainly, the opening 3-1, there's no vote to be had there. Nobody's going to vote for anything different. And I'm the person that has to make these judgments as to, should we vote on this or should we just move on to the next position? And there's a trade off there. Sometimes I have to make a decision that's, we'll vote on this, but then it turns out, you know what, everybody liked a particular play. We probably didn't need to vote on this. I tend to try to err on the side of let's vote on it. I only skip plays that I think are really truly obvious that no one would possibly choose anything different.
Right, obvious or forced, like bearing off 4 checkers with a double.
Certainly, yeah.
Okay. So this is a couple other pages where I discuss some important topics. For example, here, this is a cube action, position, cube decision. So I talk about doubling decisions. And that's very important because those are some of the hardest decisions you can make in a game or a match. And then I go through some details like market losing sequence, Woolsey's law, and O'Hagan's law that are really important when you're considering doubling and taking. Uh, would you agree that these two laws and knowing what a market losing sequence is are important when you're considering a doubling decision?
I think all of these are absolutely indispensable. When I teach players, I give lessons to intermediate level players. I want to make sure that they understand things like the market losing sequence and how to use Woolsey's law and how to use O'Hagan's law. And certainly, I incorporate all of these concepts when I'm playing. I think all players really should be thinking about these things a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good. So it's basically going through a match and you're learning these things as you're following the match. The other thing that I did not mention is at the beginning of the book, there are actually 4 people who wrote forewords, and these were all people that were involved in the book or involved in previous online matches. Of course, you were one of them, and Roberto Litzenberger as the opponent was another one, and then the previous opponent, Neil Kazaros, he wrote a forward, which was very nice, as well as Marty Storr, who was the previous expert commentator. So this is another position, and in this book, I introduce the dice distribution diagrams, both from XG and the ones that I've generated, because I feel like when I've studied these dice distribution diagrams, that's improved my game to the next level. I tell people the correct play is always dependent on the likelihood of future outcomes. And when you look at these things, you will determine what those future outcomes are, and you'll be able to do it yourself. So this is an example, and this shows the dice distribution, so how all the roles play here. And then this is a table showing the analysis for a doubling decision. And then for Roberto's play, most of the time, if not all of the time, there's a quote from Roberto that he said during the online match. And this is where I introduce position modification because this is one of the best ways to learn. One of the reasons I wrote this book is not just to have an annotated match, but to teach people how to learn from XG. So you can modify the position and learn. So, for example, these two positions are very similar. The only modification has been moving one checker from Roberto's 6 point to his midpoint here, and this makes a difference. And I discuss how to do that so you can learn when you're doing that at home on your own matches.
I think this is an extraordinary way to study, and I do this a lot myself. I have a regular study session that, in fact, you and I did a video about it some time ago where I study with Chuck Bauer. And this is a big thing in our study session is we create alternate positions. We'll play our match and then we'll make a blunder and we come back the following week and try to figure out what is the nature of our blunder. Can we make a modification to the position that would make our play right? So that does 2 things. It helps us to learn what are the essential features of the position that it's driving the right move. It also helps us to feel better about our choice because we like to say, well, we made a mistake here, but with a small change, we would have been right. The times when we feel really bad about our blunder is if we are unable to find any meaningful change to the position that makes our play right. Then we say to ourselves, you know what, boy, we really blew this one. There's no scenario in which we had the right idea.
All right, and then in this one, these are the dice distribution diagrams that I've created, and I discuss strategy versus tactics. Strategy is more of a long-term thing, but tactics thinks about has you consider the immediate upcoming sequence. So these are heat maps that show how all of the opponent's roles play after one play here and after the other, and the difference here, and they're shown in a bar graph here, and also sometimes I have tables which actually list how they're actually played, and you can see the equity difference. So you see there are big swings on certain rolls, and that's the reason. And then here below it, you could see the two different positions and see how they're played. So that's helped me learn a lot, and I hope that that helps the reader learn.
So this is the tool that you've created that will allow you to take information out of XG and create these tables. So it's essentially a giant Excel spreadsheet. I guess, Alex, I should let you know that I've really started using your spreadsheet on some of my study. In my study session with Chuck, we have used it to analyze positions to give us some insight. And you have a video about how to use that tool. Is that right?
There is a video, so it is available to USBGF members, and there's a video on my channel about how to use it.
Yeah, I think it's a really great tool. One of the things it does is it sort of properly displays scales. You know, XG has a dice distribution tool. It's a good tool, but there are some, let's just call a little funkiness in the table that you've really cleaned up and made a very nice display. Now, your book is in black and white, right?
It is, and it's in grayscale, but on that one, it's a actually I had it originally in a green to red scale, like a traffic light, but
Uh,
I received feedback that some people are red-green colorblind, so I changed
oh,
it to
yeah.
blue and red.
Yeah. So your tool does have color in it, and you can see the shades of the colors to help you
Right.
see which are the best plays or the biggest equity swings. So it's a really visually appealing tool.
Yeah, I really learned a lot, and I'm glad it's helping other people.
Yeah, I need to use it more, I think.
One of the reasons why I started doing it is because I've had so many top players from around the world join me for videos on this channel. And when I watch them play, I listen to their thought process. They're thinking about these things. They say, okay, if I make this play, this role plays better for the opponent, or that
Right.
role plays worse, or and so forth. So they're always thinking about these things. Some people like always comment about when they watch Mochi play. He's oftentimes very deliberate. So he looks at one play and then he looks at another play. And this is exactly what he's doing in his mind when he's going through that.
So he's doing something where he says, okay, if I make this play, then my opponent's fives are all bad. And if I
Something
make this
like that.
play, not so much. And so sometimes the right play is made not because this position is better, but because how it can make something bad for your opponent. Something that's good for you and something that's bad for your opponent. Well, those are equally good things for you. And so sometimes just making life hard for your opponent is great too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Then later, this is later in chapter 6, I talk about match play. So, match play is very important because people play matches very often. When you go to tournaments, they're all matches. So, here I first discuss the match equity table. So, you need to at least have an understanding of what happens when you win a point, lose a point, and so forth. I discuss, based on the match equity table, the take point. So, what is the percentage chance you need to take a cube? And then this one is another position that I discussed, looking at it at different scores because you really need to understand the take point and how aggressive you need to be when you double in gammonish positions. So this is an example of a blitz position. Now, these tables, these diagrams on the right, on the next page, show some different things. So the first one shows the Gammon value on a 2 cube in a 7-point match. And I discussed that in the book, so you can read that here. But you can see it's really elevated when you're at 4 away.
Four away, the magic of four away.
Right. That's because you win the match with a double gammon perfectly. Now, the next one is the complement of the dead cube take point on a four cube. It basically has to do with how easy it is for you to take a redouble at the next level. So you can take very easily here at the two away when your opponent is two away. Now, when you multiply these two, you get this interesting pattern here like this. So the important thing is to look at the shading. So you see the darkest is at four-way, two-way, for example. Now, this one tabulates the equity for this position at all of these scores. The interesting thing to notice is that this shading color pattern is exactly the same as this. So what that means is this gammon value on a 2 cube and the complement of your dead cube take point on a 4 cube are very important things to consider when doubling and taking in a gammonish position. So I discussed that, and this is one of the things that I do. This is one of the more advanced concept, but there are other more beginner concepts. So there's a broad audience. So if
I was going to ask you about that. What
yeah,
you think is the audience for this book?
so that's I tried to design it specifically for that reason to everyone. So there are basic concepts, but there are more advanced concepts. So if this is too advanced, you can just kind of skip over. And it's written such that each game, there are 11 games, each game is a chapter. So you can read one chapter a day, and you'll learn something.
All right, that's great.
Uh, And then here, this is another example of where I discuss another topic. Here it's prime versus prime, because prime versus prime games are pretty common, right? And
Right.
they're important. So it's important to know, like, the doubling strategy. So I discuss various positions that look similar to each other, and I go through the dice distribution, and it helps you when you go through this. There's one section on prime versus prime. There's a section on blitz positions. There's a section on race positions. There's a lot of different things. So there's a lot to learn for everyone. And then finally, at the end, there's a glossary and an index to make things easier. And you helped a lot with the glossary. So thank you for that. I think that was a good idea.
So I just want to mention a little bit about, what was the nature of my contribution to this book. Um, I think it's important to note that, Alex really wrote this book. I contributed a few important things. So first of all the analysis that you show in there, those are the rollouts that I've been doing. As the match goes on, I do these rollouts. So that's all done by me. And these are very strong rollouts, 4-ply rollouts. And so when the positions are complicated, they can run all day. Uh, they don't always. And my computer's pretty powerful, so it can churn these out pretty quickly. So that's one of the most important contributions. And of course, just running the online match and I put together. I have a match file, an XG match file that has all the comments that you have made, that Roberto has made, all the voting results, and anybody who's participated in the online match can get this match file. I've uploaded it to the USBGF site. So that's kind of the primary way that I've contributed to this product. I do think it's important to know Alex really wrote this book. I've just been sort of helping with a few things behind the scenes.
Well, those contributions are invaluable, and I should mention now that you said that there is a link and a QR code at the beginning of the book where people can just go and download the match, and they'll get the XG file,
Yeah.
and it will include all of the rollouts that you did, as well as the comments, not only from the players, from me, the USBGF members, but also Roberto. So that's additional value.
And has all the voting results, so you can see on a play, what was the vote like? Did a lot of people like this play? There are plenty of positions where the votes were really split among, sometimes several candidate plays, it illustrates that there are some positions where we are not in agreement as to what we should do. I should also mention that in the course of the online match, all the votes are anonymous. They're anonymous in the sense that when I post the totals, I don't post who voted for what play. Now, as the person who's behind the scenes, I can see all this stuff. So, if you vote for a triple whopper, the world is not going to know. I'll know, but to be honest with you, I don't really register this stuff. I'm just here to tabulate the votes. That kind of privacy is kind of important to me in the sense that I want people to be able to participate without being afraid that they are going to look foolish by voting for a very bad play. I want people to just vote what they feel is right, and if they vote for a play that the rollout says, okay, that wasn't so good, that's all right. Listen, we all make blunders. I am myself am perfectly capable of making gigantic blunders. I do it a lot. I'm trying to minimize this. That's the way to get better at backgammon, is to not make huge blunders. But when you're participating in the online match, don't worry about it. You're going to vote for good plays. You're going to vote for some not so good plays. That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So this has been going on for a long time. This one was match number 21 or 22, I believe.
22. That sounds right.
22, and now we're on number 23, and it's still going. So, one of the things I hope that comes out from this book is that more people join the USBGF, and more people participate in the online match, and more people play backgammon in general, both locally, socially, and competitively at major tournaments.
Yeah, that's great.
So great. It's been such a pleasure to work with you, and I'm looking forward to continuing doing so. It's been a really great experience doing this, and writing the book. And maybe we can do some more book writing in the future, but these matches take a couple of years to finish.
So, Alex, do you have any specific projects in mind for writing?
Yeah, so
Or is this all a big secret? You don't have to reveal anything.
no, it's not a secret. I'm glad you mentioned it. I actually enjoyed doing this one, and this one it basically took me 2 weeks to put together. And the reason why it was so quick was because everything was already written for the most
Yeah.
part. There was a little bit I had to add, but it was mostly like formatting the diagrams and so forth. So that didn't take long, and I enjoyed it, and people enjoyed it. So I decided to do some more, and I'm working on an annotated match, which uh, I won't name the match yet, but it's based on a match that was played on the stream in the Los Angeles tournament by two of the top players in the world.
So these are players that people know about.
They know the players, and
Ooh, this is
hopefully
very exciting.
I'm currently about halfway through that, and this one was not like the online match where I actually commented on everything.
Right.
So I didn't. I was actually doing the commentary for the first game or two, but we had some expert commentators commentate. So I did not actually write comments on each play
Uh-huh.
like I did with this one. So I had to do that, and also decide again which plays to comment on, because some of them were straightforward, and decide on kind of topics to expand upon. So that's been a lot of fun. I feel like doing the stream and the commentary of the Los Angeles tournaments in June and December twice a year give me an opportunity to have these kinds of matches. So one of the things I was thinking is to possibly do this twice a year, and maybe have like two more books every year from
Wow.
matches from top players. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll
Yeah.
start with this one.
All right. That's great. I'm looking forward to see what you produce.
Yeah,
Very
hopefully
exciting.
that'll be done soon. And then I'll be doing, well, right now it's a few months from now, but at the time of the December tournament in 2025, I'll be having a book signing at the tournament. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Uh, Hopefully you can make it. I don't know about your schedule. I know you're on the East Coast, and you have work and things like that. But if not, we'll be doing that. It's also available through Roberto Litzenberger again and Carol Joy Cole, as well as Amazon. The links are in the description. Again, it's called Backgammon Online Match USBGF versus Litzenberger by me with Jason Lee, my good friend and contributor. So that was a great overview. Appreciate your time and all of your help with the book. Do you have any final comments before we conclude this video?
Um, this has really been a fantastic project. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this book and reading some of these things. Obviously, I'm familiar with the match, so I know about the match, but I'd like to really see this in print and read some of these things that you have written. I think this is going to be a terrific addition to my backgammon library, which is already quite large, but I got room for one more for sure.
I know you and I and Roberto as well really enjoy collecting and reading books, and reading them like online or on the computer is one thing, but when you have a physical copy in your hands, it's something different. So uh, it's really nice to read it. Let me see if I can show the proof here. So this is the proof like that. There it is.
Yeah,
So it has this line here because it's a proof, but that's what it looks like. Uh,
very
and
exciting.
it's a lot of fun. This is the back. You can see about me and some of the quotes
Nice.
from the contributors. Okay, well, very good. Thank you very much. Again, Backgammon Online Match USBGF versus Litzenberger by me with Jason Lee. It's available. There are links in the description. We'll go ahead and conclude the video. Thank you to the viewers for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, what you'd like to see in future videos, and I'll work on it. If you love backgammon, you can become a member of this channel, giving you exclusive access to the most popular videos. My books are available. There are links in the description where you can get them, and if you're interested in lessons, please contact me via email. My email address is also in the description. I look forward to seeing you in future videos, and until then, keep rolling your dice.